My name is Brenda Kahler, Senior Manager of Nonprofit Client Engagement here at Armanino. Today I'm speaking with Leslie Bacho, the CEO for the Second Harvest Food Bank. Leslie, thanks so much for joining us today. What a difference a year makes. I know that Second Harvest has experienced a dramatic increase in the number of people that you're serving over the last year as a result of the pandemic. If you could give your March of 2020 self some advice, what would you tell yourself?
That is a great question, Brenda. I guess first I would say just to stay really anchored in your sense of purpose. This was such a challenging time for our entire team, and really staying anchored in our mission of ending hunger, and then just feeling so encouraged and motivated by the ability to meet such a critical need. That was really key. I'd also tell myself just have faith in our community. We received such generous support from our donors, our volunteers, and our partners, and that was the only way this response was possible. And the last advice would probably be just to stay flexible, especially in the early days of the pandemic. The guidance was always changing on how to keep people safe, and there were lots of disruptions to the supply chain, and things were changing for our partners constantly. So staying flexible was really key.
That is definitely great advice. I remember as the pandemic was starting, guidance was changing by the minute, and depending on where you looked, you could get totally different suggestions. And navigating all of that while you're trying to navigate a huge uptick in needs for your services must have only compounded the issue. What were some of the changes that you had to put in place at Second Harvest to help address the changing need for your services?
Well, there were really two big challenges. Number one was just how immediate and dramatic the increase in need was. We have a food connection hotline that usually gets 180 calls a day, and we started getting 1,000 calls a day, 1,200 calls a day at the peak. And most of those calls were from people who had never received food assistance before. We also started seeing first 50% more people at our sites and 100% more people. And we went from serving just in a matter of months, 250,000 people to 500,000 people. We literally had to double in a short amount of time. The other big challenge was that we had to completely do things differently to keep people safe. Our normal model is these kind of just-in-time farmers markets where people can walk up and select the food that they need. And we knew that wasn't going to be safe. And so we started boxing all of the food in our warehouses and then standing up these drive-through distributions. Pre-pandemic, we had 3 drive-throughs, and now we have over 130.
Wow.
Also, I know, just in a short amount of time. And also, volunteers were a challenge. We are really dependent on volunteers, both at our warehouse and at our sites. And initially, we understandably had a lot of volunteer cancellations, especially from our corporate groups when everybody shifted to working from home. But fortunately, we were able to bring in the National Guard and get other help. And now our individual volunteers have really come back in force. And that has been absolutely key to our response.
Wow, this huge uptick in need for your services really highlighted how many people in our community are living paycheck to paycheck. I had not realized how profound this increase in need had been.
Well, that's right. And one of the things we're concerned about is just we anticipate we're going to continue to see this high level of need, even as things get better for some. The kind of economic devastation that low-income households have experienced is going to mean it takes a long time for so many of our neighbors to recover from this pandemic.
Well, I'm so grateful for you, Leslie, and for all of the staff and volunteers at Second Harvest Food Bank for jumping in and helping our community by any means necessary. Everyone, please stay tuned for future episodes containing more nonprofit insights from Armanino experts and clients.